in the beginning of my channel, there was no sense of like, I could make a career out of this. It was like, I need something to do, so I'm going to do this. I was like, these are the shows I like. These are what I'm going to do. As much as The Walking Dead started my channel, I would say Doctor Who, like, this is dramatic, but changed my life.
3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Reactorverse Podcast, brought to you by Passionfruit. It is season 2 of the show, and I'm so excited to kick things off. We had a really fantastic first season with a lot of great guests I'm really grateful for. It's a great way to start the show, really, and I had a lot of great friends come on and share their experience and their time with their channels that really meant a lot to me, and I know people who are listening as well who share their thoughts and like how it helped them sort of form their channels and like going forward with like their creative process. So season 2, I figured I would reach out to someone I feel very close to, in this space, someone who's been around for a while now, and I've followed her career and her growth over the years, and I'm really excited to have her here. It is Sesska of Sesskasays.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. People may recognize you from our Crossing the Streams episode that we just had the last week with Doctor Who. Obviously, that's a big part of the channel we'll get into, but I want to clarify that you actually came on a few years ago when I was doing my own personal podcast, and we were talking about your channel back then and stuff like that. Obviously, a lot has changed in the world, and for yourself as well, specifically hitting 100,000 subscribers. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Very happy to see it. But yeah, I want to catch up on everything that's kind of gone on since then, because it's been a lot.
Yeah, a lot of changes
all around. Yeah. For those who don't know, I'm going to go back to the beginning as I usually do with the channel itself, the channel name. Sesskasays, what is the origin of that?
Of the name, my brother used to call me Sesska, and so that's just kind of what I had as my channel name. My name is technically Jessica, but Sesska. But I think now it's probably about 50-50 people in my life call me Sesska versus Jessica. So
it's a good name. Yeah.
It's just a nickname,
it works.
It works. So
yeah. It works. I mean, you mentioned your brother and stuff like that. I've always been curious about your history with like stuff that you've done for the channel. Was TV and film, was that a big part of your life growing up prior to like, getting into like content creation like that, just like, part of your childhood?
Yeah. I always was really, really fascinated specifically with TV more than movies. And obviously we all like movies, but I love that you can stick with the characters for so long with a TV show. I mean, sometimes they run it into the ground. So, it's right. Sometimes that happens, but
it can happen.
I typically have always really loved TV as a medium and TV shows and everything like that. And it's funny, there are some shows that I am just still in my top shows that I watched pre-channel that I wish I had reactions up to or something, because they were just the best of the best for me.
Yeah, exactly. One of those being Battlestar. I think we talked about that last time.
That's what I was thinking of, yes.
Yeah, that's always the one. I'm happy to see it now. It's resurging on a handful of different channels. People are finally finding it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go through it again.
Yeah.
And you started the channel in 2015 with The Walking Dead. Obviously, that's been a big part of the channel's legacy at this point. And it plays such a pivotal role in the reaction community. It launched like so many channels in that era. What was your history with the show prior to getting involved with it for the channel's sake, just with your enjoyment of it personally?
I loved it. I watched it pretty much. Technically, episode 2 is when I watched live, because for some reason I missed the first one. I don't really know how that worked, but
Right.
yeah, I was watching it live and absolutely adored the show. I loved the show, not just for all of the twists and turns, but I just like the character analysis of
Right.
all of the people, how not having technically any rules in society changes you. And then as the show evolved, there started to be society and rules. And then how do you revert back to that and everything like that? So I always loved the show. And I remember the episode before I put up my first reaction, I was literally sitting and screaming on my couch. It was season 5, episode 14, with revolving doors. That scene, if anybody knows what I'm talking about. And I was like losing my mind. And I think that's what kind of inspired me to start filming myself.
Were you familiar with the reaction space already? Like previous to that, what did you get like an idea of like what was going on?
Not really. Not really. I knew that it somewhat existed, but it did not exist like it does now.
Right.
At all. Like
Yeah.
everybody was so fine with me and my no picture in picture, no, like very minimal editing, shitty camera quality. You know what I mean? Like, because it wasn't a saturated market at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There was like
Totally.
a few of us.
Yeah.
And then eventually, obviously my channel has evolved since then, but yeah, that was kind of the start of it. And
right.
the space right now is just so much different than back then.
Yeah, it's been a big evolution since then. But Walking Dead has still been such a sort of core element of that. It's even still today. There's still those old Walking Dead channels that are still around, just still at it, and the show is still around. So we're still here, enjoying
the ones who live. I am so excited. I can't even tell you. And at this point, Walking Dead shows don't do like the best on my channel. I have loyal people there, but I don't care.
Yeah,
we'll always do the Walking Dead shows.
stick to your number one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like the picture and all that stuff. Like, was there a significant learning curve in terms of like the technical aspect of things when you got started?
Yes, but that's because I don't know anything, and it was really difficult for me to even understand how to edit and everything like that. So, but I got there, and now I'm pretty quick with it. When I edit, I still don't like it.
It's fair.
So, but every so often I'll really get like when like the last Stranger Things season came out, I got really excited to edit because I just had so much fun with those reactions and stuff like that. But like, editing is tedious for me. I mean, you do it all the time.
Yeah, so I do,
and you like it.
I like it. I enjoy it very much. Yeah, but I understand it's not for everyone. Yeah. It's an acquired taste for most people. It's a necessary evil, is what it is. And when you started Walking Dead, obviously that's a catalyst for the show and the channel itself being sort of a symbiotic nature. But quickly you started branching out into other shows, because you have off-season stuff to fill in. Do you recall that early process of figuring out like what kind of shows you want to watch, like what you're trying to like even just sort of like find for the sake of like your channel or your own exploration?
This was like in the beginning of my channel, there was no sense of like I could make a career out of this or I could do this full time. It was like I need something to do, so I'm going to do this. So I wasn't trying to like get into the market and get like an audience of some kind. I was like, these are the shows I like. These are what I'm going to do. And like I did, I think after Walking Dead, it was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Game of Thrones, and Bates Motel. And like nobody cared about Bates Motel except for me. And I still maintain that Bates Motel is one of the best shows. Like I adore it. So, but yeah, it was just, I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing it. And it's going to be my favorite shows right now. And
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the Bates Motel reactions. I was there for
hey.
those. Yeah, I watched the whole series as well, and I was like, oh, yes, I got to see the final season
Yeah.
with Sesska. And then one of the early shows that you picked up was Doctor Who, though, along
Yes.
that rotation, and that
Mm-hmm.
becomes such a big staple of the channel as well, as we all know. And what was it
Yeah.
like reacting to that at first, completely blind? Because particularly that we talked about this last time, there's like a certain element of the show reacting to it for the first time is that you get to experience a lot of the twists and turns completely blind that the live audience can't, like when the doctor's changing or the companion's leaving. Those type of things are signaled to us like very far ahead of time.
Yeah.
But when you're watching for the first time as for the reaction channel, you get to go through that sort of catharsis like live, and people get to see it live.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Yeah, whole experience like?
Well, Doctor Who, as much as The Walking Dead started my channel, and it's really the heart of the start of everything. I would say Doctor Who, like, this is dramatic, but changed my life. Really. I mean, it changed the course of my channel. It changed just creative ways that I did stuff, like with Doctor Who December. And I felt like I finally have this fandom that really is embracing me for whatever reason. And I can actually um, give them a lot of content and be a little bit, like I said, more creative with stuff
Right.
and do different types of reactions or different types of videos and stuff like that. And to this day, they are still the fandom that embraces me the most. And I absolutely adore them. When it comes to it is interesting because I think probably I think my most viewed reaction is Time of the Doctor at this point.
Right.
I think it's because I was not super aware that it was 11's last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just the shock of that all. I mean, I knew it was coming soon because he was the Doctor for a bit. But
Right.
I think that like reactions like that and to have like regeneration sort of be kind of come out of nowhere or like you get a sense of it with the classic doctors right now. You don't get a sense of it
Oh, right.
a lot of the time. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess the second Doctor you could kind of like you see where it's going and stuff
Yeah.
and whatever, but like I think the third Doctor it felt like it was a pretty random story, and then he was like, oh, regenerating now, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, we have that modern sensibility of like, okay, they're gonna leave, we got to make kind of like a big show out of it, so you feel that ramp up.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned the audience being such a big part of your interaction with that show and what it meant to you. Do you recall sort of that any sense of like that sort of a moment of awareness where you're like, this is really special to me, like this is something that is like I feel it like sort of changing around me?
I don't know. I mean, in all honesty, I think it was a gradual thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was around the time that there was a few fandoms that I was dealing with at the time that were less pleasant. Just say it like that. And it's so funny because it took me, I mean, you can see it on my channel, but like it took me a while to really immerse myself into Doctor Who. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was like a couple of seasons where it was sort of I wasn't sure about it, and I liked certain aspects of it, but not every aspect of it. And so it took me a while to get there.
Right.
But this fandom was just so wonderful, even through that. That's like unheard of. I've been reacting for a hot second now. And if you start watching a show and there's a big fandom behind it, you better like the show and you better like their favorite character or else
Yeah,
and
you'll hear it. Yeah.
yeah, so it was just kind of always lovely that they were so positive, but also patient for me to get to the stuff that I was like, oh, I really love this. Oh, that was,
Mhm.
that's when I was like, I like these guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically these guys in comparison, because you said you were watching other shows at the time, a handful that you're learning and experimenting with. Do you remember at that point when you had Doctor Who sort of as a staple, and you established yourself with like, okay, that's a fandom that I feel very comfortable with. Did you try and like find other avenues of fandoms that you thought like might be similar, or were you just like, I'll have this as far as at the core and let things kind of swirl around me while I just like fill out those slots?
Um, I don't really think even now I'm going to find another fandom like that
Mhm.
that I can have that type of relationship with. And that's okay because Doctor Who's going to go on forever. But
Yeah.
but I will say there has been fandoms that have really I've particularly loved. And a lot of times they're smaller. They're not on that scale.
Right.
I would say like Sense8 was a
Right.
wonderful
Yeah.
experience, and the most loving fandom. I mean, it's kind of like at the core of the show to
Mhm.
kind of be like that, but and then all of the Mike Flanagan. I
Right.
think
Yes.
those shows are kind of very suited to how I am as a reactor.
Totally.
Um, I think I get emotional when I try to immerse myself as much as possible in these stories, and
Yeah.
I love character studies so much, and I think that that's where those shows really excel. So those definitely, but I have to say, and I need to knock on wood or something when I say this.
Yeah.
The Star Wars fandom has been beautiful to me.
That's good to
And
hear.
I have
Good to
not
hear.
heard that that's common.
It-
Now
that
I
is
think
true.
maybe it's because the rest of them haven't found me yet. I feel like maybe that's what it is. But I have felt a bit of a lot of love from the Star Wars fandom,
All right.
which was
Um,
shocking because I was like bracing myself for like this is
that,
gonna be rough.
that's fair. It's a fair approach. Yeah. And yeah, you mentioned being emotional and being vulnerable, on screen with the shows that you fall in love with. That's a big part of, I guess, your brand as it was, for your time with the channel.
Mhm.
But it's it's a very emotional in a genuine way where like it's clear that you are really invested in these people as like, the characters that you really love. How do you sort of navigate that sense of being vulnerable on camera when it's coming, something is kind of like welling up in you, but also trying to maintain that sort of interactivity with the material so you can keep the sort of presentation going for the sake of the video itself?
um, I try not to get up in my head about it, which is I'm not usually successful in that. But I think I really try to just focus completely on the story. I think something that I don't want to speak on other reactors, but I think something that I feel like might be a little bit different about my videos is I'm not trying to like analyze the episodes as much. I'm not trying to theorize on what's going to happen. Sometimes I
Right.
might come up with a theory and it might be true. But I'm not really trying to like pick everything apart and figure out what's going to be next or anything like that. Like I just want to immerse myself and
Hmm.
enjoy what is being presented to me.
Right.
And I think it's a kind of, I think, uh, if I can say this, a good part of my channel is that it's a little bit more
Yeah.
like it's a positive atmosphere, which is weird to
Sure.
say because a lot of times I'm crying, but but I think it has a little bit of a more emotional, positive
Of course.
atmosphere
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
like trying to. And I just kind of try to lose myself in it. And if I cry, I cry. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, that's obviously like, yeah, again, a fair approach because a big part of, yeah, the reaction space as it is yes, like sort of engaging with it on a sort of analytical sense. But however, I think some of the best stuff is, as you're saying, the reactions that let the content just sort of wash over you.
Hmm.
And so you take it in as it sort of like approaches you scene by scene. And I think, yeah, it's a part of your channel specifically that I've always gravitated towards, and I've always appreciated. But another aspect of the channel that I think I've always appreciated, especially keeping an eye on the space as a whole, is your ability to share life updates with the channel and with the audience, because you've been very open to the audience about, when things are changing in your life and when you need a break, stuff like that. I guess, what has it meant to you to be able to have that sort of openness with your audience over the years?
Oh, wow. It's, I think I am very attracted in my life to just very like genuinely honest people. And I think it's important for specifically content creators and reactors. I'm going to say reactors specifically because we have to pump out a lot of reactions in order to stay even relevant in the space. And to be open about when things are changing, when you need a break, and that like you should take a break, or if you're just not feeling great. Like I have to film close to every day, a lot of the times throughout the year. And it's like some days I'm not my best. I'm
Right.
not feeling good, or I'm like struggling with something. And I'd like to be super transparent about it so that everybody knows, because I feel like if I can be honest with my audience, I feel like they appreciate that,
Of course.
and I think it might help people recognize that, I'm also a human being, and,
Right.
like sometimes we have bad days or sometimes we need to take breaks, and, you know.
And particularly breaks too. That's something I always advocate for people working in this space, because he said it's like a year-round job, just being on top of everything all the
It's
time, every day, every week.
exhausting.
Yeah. How has your prioritization towards breaks sort of evolved over the years in terms of like scheduling and the amount of content that you're putting out?
Let me tell you, I don't know how I did what I did back in the day, because I
Right.
used to film like a few reactions and then I would edit all of them, and then like all in one day. And then, like, I don't know. And then I did a Doctor Who December on top of a full schedule at one point. What, was I
Yeah.
crazy? I think I was crazy. But like, and I did have help for some of the editing and stuff like
Hmm.
that for that one. And I
Right.
do have an editor now, but it's right now I feel like it's more important for me to be healthy and happy, and my
Mm.
videos are better.
Totally.
Like, I mean,
Absolutely.
I can pump out all of these reactions and do all of the shows that are requested of me. But I just don't think that they would be any good if I'm completely burnt out.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, I mean, I encourage any reactor to literally just take a couple of weeks and either get away or just don't worry about your channel, which is hard to do
Hmm.
because a lot of and I have notoriously scheduled breaks because a lot of times I like to travel.
Yeah.
I've notoriously scheduled breaks when they're like, it's the Loki season finale. I'm like,
Right.
well, so I'm not that great at that, but
Yeah.
but eventually you have to say, uh, it's always going to be some finale, some premiere, some
Yeah.
at any given point in time in the year. You should take
Yeah. Do
care
you
of
have any?
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any specific like sort of mantra, or like sort of, yeah, like meditative way of approaching the idea of like, I need to let it go for now to help yourself relax?
I wish I did. I don't think I do, but I think
Mhm.
no. I just think it's just to really keep in your mind to prioritize yourself, because I think The people who I feel very fortunate by my community on my channel. I know everybody says that, but mine's the best. But because they really are so ride or die for me and for my mental health. And the majority of them are so supportive of all of that. So I think if I just keep reminding myself, like, the videos will be good if you're good.
Right.
That's kind of what you have to do.
Right. It's the best way to maintain.
Nobody wants a reaction where you're like burnt out and just looking like this.
Yeah.
It's like their favorite episode. You're like completely checked out.
Right. Yeah. And then finally, once you eventually caught up with Doctor Who, you then made the decision to jump into Classic Who. And that's been, its own journey that you're still going through now. And it's such a big commitment that you joined in on. And I think it was indicative of some of the other, large swings you would take with the channel later with like Star Wars and now Supernatural, large shows that have like obviously huge fandoms, but also long running fandoms for generations as it is. Is there, again, any sort of specific strategy in terms of scheduling and sort of how hard you go at those shows when you know it's going to be such a long tenure?
I think I'm a little bit different from at least the reactors that I've spoken to, because they look at it as daunting, and I love it. I love the stability of it. I love that it's every Friday is Classic Who for years. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I have to record it, but I have right now 3, 4, if you count Patreon, kind of every day of the week or one reaction a week shows. So Classic Who on Fridays, Supernatural on Wednesdays, whatever Star Wars show I'm doing on Tuesday, and then Star Trek on Patreon on Saturdays. And I actually love that because it just has a nice consistent base for those fandoms to know that they're getting a video every week. And I love it. I think it's great to have that stability on a channel and consistency on a channel. I don't necessarily hit the crazy high numbers if, I was going to do the hottest new thing or whatever. But I actually, in my opinion, I find it to be more important to keep those people happy, because I think that's how you like culminate this really supportive atmosphere in your community and who watches you. And I've always kind of put that as a priority. I don't think that helps with, gaining subscribers or views in that regard, but it helps with people actually really supporting you. So I always loved it.
Yeah. I think it helps with longevity, as what you were saying before, is that you foster that community of people and they reciprocate that appreciation back to you, and that helps you sort of take the breaks that you need and so on that you were saying. It helps you be comfortable to share with them when you have to step away, when things need to change. You don't feel as much of a slave to the algorithm, as it were, to be on top of things.
I don't even I used to, I don't mean to go on a tangent. I was going to say, I used to look at numbers all the time and drive myself crazy. Like, absolutely. Because you never know how certain reactions get picked up and how others do. And now I don't even look at it. I'm like, here's my video. I don't look at how other people are doing. I don't look at their subscriber count or anything like that. I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. I feel happy. And I'm honestly very proud of myself that I got to this point, because for a while it was, when you just are a slave to the numbers or trying to get the next like big thing, you just really lose. In my opinion, I think you lose a sight of like why you're doing it.
It can be a slippery slope for sure. It can be the idea of like if you pay attention to the numbers too hard, I think, then it kind of drives you up the wall of like, how you can keep improving upon that. When I think what I always tell people who want to start this and want to be in this for the long haul is that this has to be an outlet for you before it's numbers, anything, before it's like monetary or whatever. You have to make sure that this platform is for you. on a very personal level. And I think you've managed to achieve that, yes, through the sort of approach that you've taken with it.
Yeah, I also I mean, I will still look at the numbers. There'll be like sometimes a show won't I'll do the first couple of episodes of a show, and if it doesn't do that great, I will stop. I'm not like completely like for the people, and who cares about the numbers and the money? Like I
Right.
do need to like live, and we're I do think that there are some people out there that think I record a video and then I like press a button and it's perfectly edited and ready to go. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that it
Yeah.
should be like that quick. And I'm like, it actually takes quite a few hours to get these videos
Yes.
out. And for me to be consistent every week, it's a lot of work. So
Believe me. Yeah, I know. There's a ton of work that goes into getting these things out.
yeah.
Um, but you mentioned, yeah, Star Wars being sort of a new endeavor that you've had over the last couple
Mhm.
of years. You watched The Mandalorian first. That was the first thing that you
Yes.
watched.
Yes.
And then the reception that you got through the fandom because they were like you said, they were understanding of the fact that once we got to season 2, they started referencing past stuff that was a
Mhm.
little more deep cut that you felt a little out of the loop for, but they didn't snap at you, which is like a big plus, a green flag
I
for what kind
hear
of
it's not
thing you want to
common.
interact with. It is not. And so you started with the movies, the rewatch of the prequels trilogy, and then you got into Clone Wars. Yeah, I guess what has that experience been like for you, just like diving back into that universe and learning about all that, but also, like you said, navigating the fandom and what your experience has been with them personally.
They've been really lovely. And I keep knocking on wood. I'm like, when is it going to happen? Like at some
Right.
point, they're going to turn on me. I don't know when it is, but no, I mean, they've been really lovely. I watched The Mandalorian and loved that. And then, I think because of the fact that I put all of the effort into Clone Wars and now Rebels, that there's a massive appreciation from the fandom that I
Mhm.
wasn't trying to even just like speed through it. As much as I wanted to catch up to do Ahsoka live, because that probably would have been good for my channel and growth and stuff like that. And again, I'm not completely oblivious to that, but one, I there was no way I could get it done in time
Right.
without driving myself crazy. Um, but also, like, I wanted to take the time to actually go through Rebels, which has turned out to be one of my favorite, like, things of Star Wars lore ever. So it
Of
was
course. Yeah.
amazing, and I enjoyed every second of it. And so I really, I'm going through Ahsoka right now. And uploading that because I finished up Rebels, and everybody's so excited and so lovely. And yeah, I don't think the views are as high as if I was current with it.
Mhm.
But I do think that I have a lovely core of Star Wars fans that really like are excited for, the rest of my journey.
Yeah, that's a victory in its own right. Is having that as
Yeah.
in comparison to any views or numbers like that. Like I think having a positive Star Wars community, that is something to appreciate definitely
Yeah.
in today's climate. But yeah, you ran through Clone Wars and Rebels. Uh, Also similarly at the same time, you're also doing Arcane as well.
Hmm.
And you mentioned that you don't have like any sort of bias against animation, but it's not something you naturally gravitate towards in your own right. And so these are kind of like new territory for the
Yeah.
channel. Do you feel that opens like a door for like any sort of other potential animated series that you might want to try out for the channel?
The kind of how I view it, I would love to get into certain animated shows.
Mm.
However, I know that especially within just the anime world, people are very, very passionate about it. They are
Right.
very, very passionate about it. And I want to make sure I make the right decision. I react to the right stuff because I
Mhm.
think I I don't even want to speak on it because like they're going to come out of the woodworks. And
Yeah.
I think there's some that wouldn't be very suited to my style of channel.
Right.
And so if I do gravitate more into that world, I want to do it right. And, you know, to also do like the reactions that I would be really proud of and that I would really, you know, like to put out there. But I'm not opposed to it. It's just such a daunting, like, you know, there's so much. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start or, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole new world to explore, and like like you read it, it's good. It's I mean, smart to approach it that way because like it's uncharted territory, and you don't want to dive into something that's like gives you like a big shell shock sort of reaction where like it kind of stifles your progress of like navigating more of that territory.
Yeah, I think it's just I want to make sure that it's like I'm going to also enjoy it, you know, because I don't have a good poker face when I don't like something. As you know, as much as just there, I mean, I actually don't get them anymore. I used to get like such a fake reaction all the time. I don't really get them anymore. Maybe because I like really stuck it out. And they eventually were like, well, no, she's all right. But like but like, and so I think if there are certain animes, and my brother's really into anime, and he has told me, he's like, there are certain ones that you probably shouldn't do. He's like, there's ones that I think are really character focused that you're going to absolutely love. And then there's some that like a good portion of the episodes are a lot of fights and you're going to sit there like this.
Okay. It's good. Good guide. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good guide to have.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of have an idea from him, but still it's.
Yeah.
Tread lightly.
Tread lightly.
Because I mean, people get so excited. And then if I don't like it, that's the opposite reaction that you want from
but at the same time, it also opened up the possibility of like more movie reactions because you also did the Spider-Man run that you did this past year leading up to Doctor Strange. Do you think that might be something that you try exploring more on the channel as well, like more movies coming to the public facing side of the channel?
I currently am keeping movies at just the Marvel that are because I did the Spider-Man spring leading up to No Way Home, just because I felt like the shows were sort of really incorporating into the movies and stuff like that. So I felt like the movie should probably be kind of available to everybody. I do movie reactions twice a month, but I do it over at Patreon, and I don't really want to take away from them. So,
makes sense.
And I've really gone through a lot over there. So it would be hard pressed for me to find like a movie series that
yeah, exactly.
that I haven't already dove into.
That makes sense. And then, I spoke with Katie O'Shaughnessy because about Walking Dead as well, another iconic Walking Dead reactor. You mentioned earlier that we're expecting The Ones Who Live coming up soon to come back to Rick and Michonne. And it's such a sort of, just speaking for myself, it's such a sort of surreal experience to still be here with them, with you, and with like everyone who has been involved with the show for such a long time, and that we're still getting this stuff coming out. And it feels like almost, obviously we have other shows coming out that's already planned, but this feels like sort of like another end, not just the end of the initial series, but sort of like another continuation end of these characters that we know, because we don't know what's going to happen to them. We don't know if they're going to right after the sunset after this. But for yourself, like, I guess, what does it mean to be here still with the show and getting to the point in the franchise where we can look back and be like, wow, this is how far we've come with it, with yourself and the channel?
It's absolutely insane that we're now to the point, because I remember very vividly watching Rick's last episode in The Walking Dead. I mean, I had to give myself a moment before I started filming that reaction and being like, breathe, because he's my favorite TV character. I absolutely adore him. I am good. I mean, if I'm not screaming for 6 episodes straight for the ones who live. I mean, that's what it's going to be. And he doesn't need to do anything. He could just stare at a wall and I'd be like, you do it, you know, like I'm really down for whatever. But it's been a crazy journey, especially with The Walking Dead, which is one of the shows that I feel like actually embraced reactors, which is nice. Absolutely. You know, I've had like Skybound specifically has kind of, you know, sent me some stuff and reached out and tried to collaborate with me in certain ways and stuff like that. And so I will always be super appreciative of them specifically for that. And it just, I know that a lot of the actors of the show watch the reactors and, you know, it just feels like a beautiful family. And I'm really, really excited to get back into it. And I always, you know, like I said, maybe the Walking Dead reactions don't do as well as they once did in the heyday or whatever, but it's it feels like home, you know, whenever I'm reacting to that. And even any iteration, any spinoff, I feel like I don't know. It feels like home. It feels
that's a good way to great way to put it. Yeah. For me, myself as well, because Walking Dead was the catalyst for myself to find reactions and to find, you know, people in this space. Particularly, I think, because like you mentioned, Skybound and Gamma Ray were doing such great work. Editing those compilations together for all the reactors week by week, and now Johnny Odell, who does his own channel now to do the compilations for other shows, like is still around doing that. It was such an important way, I think, for myself to see how like cohesive like this space was, of like people enjoying the same thing, but you know, it was similar but unique between every single person, and just learning how, you know, all the facets of like everyone's sort of reaction to this. It's not just one thing of like people react to like this thing a certain way, but just the idea that all of you are individuals. And that you all bring something to the table. It was such an important thing for me to learn. And I asked Katie this because obviously she is still dedicated to it too. She's still in the trenches about it. And I asked her, you know, do you have any sort of doomsday scenario of if one day they announce like, that's it, The Walking Dead is like done, like we're like it's the last show that we're doing? Do you have any sort of idea what you'll do? You'll, you know, pop a champagne bottle, or like you'll, you know, take a walk or something?
Oh my goodness, I would be really sad, obviously, because I have still really loved a lot of the content that they've put out. I absolutely have adored watching. I really love Dead City. I know that not everybody was more, and I love Daryl as well, the Daryl Dixon show, but like I thought Dead City was done really well, and I can't wait to see where it goes and everything like that. So I'm actually quite still in it and still loving it. And if maybe some champagne. I don't need an excuse for champagne, you know? But I think maybe a rewatch, maybe not on camera.
Right.
Don't take me at my word. Then people will be like, you said there was going to be a rewatch. But I would probably try to maybe go through the journey again. I've been so busy that I feel like I haven't rewatched Walking Dead in a while, which is rare for me, but you know.
I've rewatched a little bit of it recently, just when it's been on home, and then to catch up with my mom, because we that was like the one show in my life that we watched literally from beginning to end from you know, when it was on airing currently, and it was like such an important thing between the two of us.
It was with my mom as well. Every Sunday we would watch The Walking Dead, and then I moved away and started a channel and everything. So now I can't, you know, but my best friend goes over to my parents' house every Sunday, and they have Walking Dead nights. So she took my place. And so shout out Danielle, love you. But yeah, that's good. So she still hangs out with my mom, and they, you know, they watch The Walking Dead. So
I'm excited for the new season of The Ones Who Live, and we'll see what that has in store for us. And to start wrapping things up here, we'll ask our sort of final questions of the main part of this, which is over the years, that you've been around doing this, what has been the most consistent obstacle you've faced with the channel?
Oh, wow. One that I overcame or one that's still going on?
Either one, yeah. One that you think is still a thorn in your side.
Still going on is copyright.
Yeah.
And I mean, does anybody give a different answer to that? Like,
some people say like time management, like, some things like that.
no, I'm pretty good at that. I just,
I think
it's the copyright. It's the
copyright
either, because you have to and then you have to remember which companies, which strategy works. So either the re-upload until you're blue in the face or dispute. But sometimes they take their time getting back to you. And so if it's a prompt thing, then you're like, okay, I'll just re-edit and re-upload. And then the BBC does not care like about anything. They're like, no, sorry. Like that's how they respond. So that's always frustrating. And there are certain shows that I would love to get into, but I just hear they're a nightmare with copyright. I'm like, I don't want to do that like every week. And like,
that's fair.
Trying to get stuff up on time and being consistent. And it just happens to be the week that the WB is not okay with Supernatural going up. Like, they're usually fine, but randomly they're like, we're going to block this video like 20 times.
Right. So. That's how they might be sometimes. But you mentioned obstacles that you might have overcome. Is there an obstacle you think you've overcome, over the years?
It's how do I put this eloquently? It's like not giving a fuck about about what people think of you, and or specifically I'm going to talk about from the perspective of the women in the reactor sphere. I mean, you wear too much makeup. You don't wear enough makeup. Your hair looks like shit. Oh, it's not done up enough. You shouldn't wear that. Probably you should wear that. I mean, it was a massive amount of my comments for a really, really long time. And I think, and it got to me because I was just so frustrated, and I care about how I look. I always am done up pretty much for my videos, but it was so frustrating to me that would make up a good portion of my comments.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with what I said, and so I actually, for a period of time, I actually was like trying to listen to what they were saying. They're like, okay, I have to cover up. I have to, make sure my makeup's pristine. I have to do this. I have to do that. And I would drive myself literally crazy getting ready for videos. And I still put effort into getting ready for videos. It's not a quick process. I got a couple hours before every video that I film and stuff, but that's for me. And I eventually, it took a while. I would say it was about a good 2 years of me really getting kind of messed up by the standards of the internet when it came to that. And then I just said, I'm going to look how I want to look. I'm going to do my makeup how I want to do it. And if I look into the viewfinder and I think you look snatched, then great. Who cares otherwise? But it is so hard when you first put yourself out there to get that overload.
Right.
Because you just don't think about it. Or at least I didn't until I put myself out there on the internet. And then it was like this just whoosh of everybody's opinion about how you look.
Yeah.
And I think I absolutely overcame that. So.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. Yeah, because I think that kind of leads into my next question, which might be similar, it might be a different answer, which is how do you feel you've grown with the channel over the years?
What that is probably one that I'm really proud of. But I've I feel like I've grown as just like I don't know how to say that, but like a reactor or, a lot of my first videos and stuff, I didn't talk as much as I do now, or I didn't like analyze as much as, I think I've eventually, what sucks is I feel like the first batch of reactors, if you want to call us that, or and I wasn't even like the first, but like,
Right.
like kind of the earlier
Yeah,
days.
that's like a second gen or something,
We
from
kind
like
of had like
from where we
growing
are now.
pains
Yeah.
on camera,
Yeah.
meaning like we didn't really know what we were doing. We didn't really know like what or find our identity. And I kind of had to do that on camera. So like the older videos, I'm like, ooh, don't watch those. No, thank you. But, I think I've just grown in being really confident about my opinions, about being emotional on camera, and really just sort of embracing all of that. And just really knowing the type of content that I want to put out. And as I was saying to you, the type of shows that I want to, I don't necessarily want to necessarily do the next biggest thing if it's not really suitable to the content that I want to put out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Self-awareness, I think, about how you want to approach it is very, very important. Yeah. And then the final question here is, beyond any monetary or financial value, what do you say is the most rewarding aspect of the channel for you?
It's always when you get a comment that you feel like they really appreciate you. A lot of times comment sections, and it's the nature of the beast, but a lot of times comment sections can be about just the show that you're watching, and you feel like they could have copied and pasted it on every single reaction that they watched or whatever. But whenever I get, and there's certain fandoms that do that, I would say the like Mike Flanagan fandom is very good at, appreciating me as a reactor and my thoughts and stuff like that. Whenever I get those types of comments that I feel like they care about my reaction specifically, or my thoughts, or a running joke that I have, or something like that that's very specific, that's the best part of doing what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And that's been a big part of, like, again, learning it through the early second wave era of reactors, as you said, seeing the sort of diversity in people and like how you guys interact with the shows on a personal level has always been such a big part for me. And I think that's a big part of like why I engaged with your channel very early on, because I saw this sort of reciprocated feeling of like you recognizing the audience, recognizing you about it. And so it's a very great community that you'll be able to foster through that.
Mine's
and
the
so
best.
I want to get into it. I'll agree with you on that. I do want to get into our final questionnaire of the show, our 10 questions for everyone that we do. Just feel free to give it as concise or as large as the answer as you want. No pressure.
You say that now I feel like there's pressure.
It happens. This is the one that usually gets everyone right away, which is what is your favorite TV show?
The Walking Dead.
Okay, good.
But but the TV show that changed my life is Doctor Who. Don't hate me.
That makes sense. And the second, what is your favorite film?
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's good. That was the first one I ever saw in theaters, so I appreciate that one.
It's amazing. It can't be beat. I know.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into a Jurassic Park.
Right. And the third one is what stresses you out?
Everything. Like in regards to the channel?
Anything, a channel or just in your life that is again a constant thorn in your side.
Copyright.
Okay. That's always a fair answer. It's always a good answer. And then what helps you relax?
Tacos.
Yeah. That sounds great right now, actually, for myself. What is a hobby or passion you have outside of TV and film?
Dance.
Dance? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great. And then what fictional character do you relate to or just care deeply about?
Oh, wow. That I relate to.
Mhm.
It's funny. My subscribers are going to be able to answer this so much better than I am being put on the spot. They're going to be like, what about this person?
Yeah.
I'll on the Walking Dead side of things, I always related a lot to Sasha.
Hmm.
So I'll say her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. And then what is your guilty pleasure show or film?
That's a tough one because I'm not like embarrassed by anything.
That's
So
a
I
fair answer
don't,
too.
what would people think is a guilty pleasure though? I love the Mindy Project.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know that that's a guilty pleasure. It's just not in
No.
suit with what I typically watch on my channel.
That makes sense. Yeah. But that is a great show though.
Yeah. It's a great show. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
It is just, yeah.
Love her.
You know, no need to feel guilty about anything.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what else I would say.
And what show or film gave you your favorite reaction experience with the channel?
Reaction experience. I would have to say Time of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think that just the whole reaction was really, it's weird to say at the end of a reaction, like, oh, that was a good reaction. Because it's just your genuine reactions. But I knew, I was like, that was a good one.
Sometimes you know. Sometimes
you
feel it. Yeah. Yeah. It's honestly, that's actually one, I think probably my top 10 like of all time. I still go back and rewatch that one every once in a while when I'm feeling nostalgic for Matt Smith. That's the one I go to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what show or film do you wish you could erase from your memory and react to for the first time on camera?
Oh God. I have a lot of answers for this.
That's okay. Yeah, I'd like to hear some.
Okay. Do I have to stick to one?
No, yeah.
Well,
multiple ones.
I'll say number one is probably Buffy.
Yeah.
Because but Buffy did like shape who I was, I feel like, as a person. So I don't know that I want to erase that from my childhood because I feel like it was very important.
Yeah.
Battlestar, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Lost.
Oh yeah.
I would love to do Lost, but I've seen it. Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There's quite a few that I would love to do. The Sopranos. Lots of stuff.
Yeah. Think about just remember this year's actually the 20th anniversary of Lost.
Yeah.
Of the initial premiere. So that might be
that's such a good react show too. Because it's just a lot of what the fucks.
Yeah, that was nice. Serge from the Normies is obviously a huge Lost head. Yeah, I'm a diehard Lost fan, and he was able to go through it with two people, Ronna and Nikki, who hadn't seen it, and so he got to experience that again. And it's just fun seeing someone be able to react to Lost, but have to bite their tongue about so many things.
Yeah, you can't
don't spoil
anything.
it. Yeah. And our final question here is, what advice would you give to your past self if you can go back in time when you first started the channel?
Honestly, I feel like the advice would be that like, don't stress out as much. You're going to find your footing. You're going to find, the way to do everything. And also, I wish I could probably tell my past self, like, don't care about the numbers so much. Because it really doesn't matter as much as the people think it does, in my opinion. Because a lot of times those numbers and those views, they do not translate a lot of times it does not.
Right.
All you need is a claim, and then all of that's out the window. And I think I would tell myself that you can still be successful. You can make a living out of this without chasing that all the time.
Right. Yeah. That is fantastic advice. That applies to probably anyone these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sesska, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
truly,
you.
I have always loved watching your channel and like your growth over the years. And I mean, the insight you gave us today was like really invaluable in my opinion, just from what I've seen from, the people I talked to so far.
Oh, thank you.
Where can we find you on YouTube or on social media or otherwise?
It is Sesskasays across the board. So
good. Easy.
Wherever.
Yeah.
Except I'm like not on TikTok or anything like that.
That's okay. That's not me either.
It would be one more thing. I don't know that I could do it.
Don't worry. It's a fair approach. I think people have to it. Yeah. To stick to what you're comfortable with.
Yep.
You can find us at Passionfruit on YouTube. If you're watching this, please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. If you find us on the newsletter, please share that as well. We appreciate any new numbers on that. And we will catch you all on the next episode.